Now that we've implemented and built our form control, it's time to actually implement that in the TypeScript file. So before we do that, we want to go ahead and update our assignment number in the app.component.ts file. So we'll find the string value we created and we'll just change this. And we're going to change this to exercise 4.3, handling events with observables. Okay, we'll go ahead and close out all these windows that we have open. And we're going to want to open up the composer-list.component.ts file. Inside this, we want to add a couple imports. So the first import is going to be for the form control, and the second one is going to be for the debounce time, which is a part of the rxjs/operators section. So we're going to say import form control. And then the next one again is going to be the debounce. Once those are saved, we're going to go ahead and update our constructor. So we're going to say inside the body of the constructor, we actually want to call that debounce function that we've created, and we want to create a new form control. So before we can do that, let's go and add a new field called text search control, and we're going to say new form control. And we're just going to fill it with an empty string. Then in the body of our constructor, we would call actually the method that handles the onChange or when the value changes of the form control. But we're going to need to create a function to be able to do that. So below our ng-onInitialization function, we're going to create a new function called filter composers. It's going to accept a name as a parameter of type string. And for now, we're just going to say alert name. So we want to alert the value that we pass in from the parameters. So back in our constructor, now we can say this.text search control.value change. So whenever we enter any kind of text into the form control, it's going to emit a value change event. So we're going to listen for that event, and then we're going to say .pipe. And then that's where we're going to call in our debounce time. We're going to specify how long. In this case, we're going to say 500 milliseconds. And then we're going to say .subscribe. And inside this is where we're actually going to say this.filter composers, and then we want to pass in the value. So we're basically saying anytime we enter text into the text search control, that value is going to change. It's going to emit this value changes event. We're going to say after 500 milliseconds, we want to call this filter composers function that we created. In our case, it's just going to alert the name of the current value for that text field. So let's go ahead and save this. We'll open up a new terminal window and we'll run this application to see the results. And if you get this error message on the screen here, it's just basically saying that what we've referenced does not exist. And that makes sense. If you look at the name that we created inside of our component, we named it text search control, txt search control, but it's saying inside of our composer-list.component.html file, we're actually referencing text search control. So let's open up the HTML file, and we just need to fix that entry. So instead of saying text, we're going to say txt. So we'll remove the E, and then we'll click Save. Once it compiles successfully, we'll go ahead and open up a browser window, and we'll navigate to localhost 4200. So we'll just say localhost 4200. If everything was done correctly, you should see a new form control on the right-hand side of the list. So let's go ahead and start typing something in and see what happens. So we'll say 100. And if you see, there was a delay, but it shows our 100 value we entered in. Now, if I continue to type in, let's say classical, and I stop typing, you can see that it posts out CLASSICA. And that makes sense because every 500 milliseconds, it's listening for changes in this text field, and then it's going to emit those values. And we're using alert box to show the content of that. So I encourage you, as you play around with this, to enter in different values and try to watch how the debounce time function actually works, and that it shows this delay in entering everything in. What we don't want to have happen in a normal production application is you don't want to happen that every time you enter a single character value that it calls the server to do a lookup on that function. Basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to slow down how fast we're calling the server each time a person enters in some kind of search field into our text field. In this series of lessons, we learned about form controls, and we learned how to handle events using observables and forms. In our next series of lessons, we'll be learning navigation and layouts using Angular Material, we'll learn about data tables using Angular Material, and we'll explore dialog windows using Angular Material Design. Thank you for watching.